Dragi tovarăși și prieteni, cetățeni ai capitalei României socialiste.
Eastern Europe, I mean from Estonia all the way down to Bulgaria. Politically, this area fascinates me because these people were under the yoke of a firm, steel, left-wing dictatorship for decades, and it's influenced their politics in ways that forces them to have values that I value and that I appreciate and am willing to fight for. And one of you asked me to make a video about something called the Sovereign Party, which I'm not entirely sure about. That could be one of the alliances in Romania on the right, but I'm not sure what you're talking about. So instead, this video for you is going to be just going through the political parties of Romania, but also how do these parties show us what Romania is? Because any country, if you look at the political parties that are on offer, a democratic one anyway, but in democracies, the parties on offer and what people vote for over generations can tell you the values of that country and can tell you a lot about that country. Romania is no exception. So let's look at what these parties are, how they're voted in as well. After I go through all these parties, what do I personally think this says about Romania as a society? And which one would I vote for? This is Ben Llewellyn, and let's get into the video. One thing that pops out to me first about Romanian elections is that this is low trust in politicians. There is no trust in politicians. I mean, like 12% of Romania considers these people that are ruling them even remotely trustworthy. I mean, that doesn't suggest that you trust your rulers, do you? Does it? No. And they've had a wave of new parties come in whose slogans reiterate this sentiment. Stop stealing from us, kind of thing. No corruption. One of these, the slogan was România fără hoție, a Romania without theft. So there's a lot of anger currently against corruption in Romania. So there's three types of representation I'm going to be talking about in this video. There's the European Parliament, which is easier to get into in many cases. The lower chamber, the Chamber of Deputies. And then there's the Senate, which is more like the French Senate. This is on a closed list system. So you don't actually vote for the people you want. You vote by party, which I don't like personally. I think that's a bit undemocratic because you're putting the party in charge more than the people about choosing who's in charge. But it's your country. Do what you want. But let's start with those in the European Union, the smallest parties, and we're working our way up to the establishment parties in Romania. I'm gonna need to look at my notes for this one. So the first one, the Romanian Conservative Party. Okay? This is in the Romanian Parliament. It's pretty small, but it's very new as well. Founded in 2023. This believes in national conservatism, it's populist, questions the EU a bit, right? But it's not full-on anti-EU from what I understand. I could be wrong. It was anti-vax during Corona, which is a bit, I don't know, I'm a bit, that sounds a bit weird. I get it, I didn't like the vaccination either, but is that what you want to really campaign on? You know, your choice, your country. It's Christian right-wing sovereigntism, so really like the nation state valuing its Christian heritage quite far to the right, which may explain why it's not that popular, but it's still a new party. Just like, as I'm making this video, just over a year old. That's nothing. The chairman left the National Peasants' Party. There's a tradition there with a peasants' revolt in Romania, so it's not derogatory. It's actually quite heroic in Romanian culture. And they're part of Aur, which is Welsh for gold and Romanian for gold. The same word in both languages, which I find interesting. the Alliance for the Union of Romanians, a very national conservative type, not neoliberal right, but pro-patriotic, almost ethnic nationalism, but I don't want to use that kind of language for it. It's a right-wing nationalist alliance, which is against higher centralization in the EU. Let's go on to the next party. Pro-Romania, led by a former Romanian Prime Minister Victor Ponta, and interesting fact, this is not the only party in this list that's led by a former Prime Minister who decided to just break away and do his own thing. I think that says a lot about the Romanian character. This one is not anti-Europe at all, it's quite centre to centre-left, pro-European, very different to the former one, and it's got one seat in the European Parliament. The People's Movement Party, whenever I see its initials, I just think of the word pimp. But, interestingly, they're monarchists. Like, they want to restore the monarchy, which I think that's interesting. I want to see how that would work. Let me know. They're quite conservative, though, and they've got issues, just saying. However, they're not, like, dangerously conservative. They're clearly, like, for a federal Europe, which is interesting. They're like monarchists in favor of a federal Europe, which usually those people who want that on the national conservative end are very anti-Europe. So that's quite interesting, I think. And they've been around for a decade, so maybe they'll survive. Maybe not. They've got almost 50 mayors. I mean, that's significant. At a local level, they're building some kind of grassroots organization. They're national conservatives, social conservatives, pro-monarchy, populist, European reform, pro-Christian heritage, transnational stuff. SOS Romania. 2 seats in the European Parliament. They're quite Russophile. They've been accused of anti-Semitism, social conservatism, which that's not an accusation. They're socially conservative. Romanian irredentism. Irredentism means, therefore, expanding their country's borders to some historic state, Greater Romania. This party worries me a bit. Yeah, they seem to side with Russia on a few things. The most worrying thing about them is the AfD in Germany, as far to the right in Germany as it gets, won't even allow them in. So these guys are further to the right than the most right-wing party in Germany. That's not a good look, guys. Like, chill out. They're against NATO and hard Euroscepticism, so not really fans of the EU here. Alternativa Dreaptă. National conservatives, not quite as crazy as the other ones. Soft Euroscepticism, so okay. Libertarian conservatism, so very, very small government, not really trusting of regulations in any sense whatsoever. I think that's a bit extreme, but you know, it's your country and they don't seem to be psychos. It says they're classical liberals and national conservatives, which in my mind are opposites of each other, so I'm not quite sure exactly what they stand for. However, they've got 1 Senate, 1 mayor actually, and a couple in the lower chamber, the deputies. So they're around. They've only been around for 5 years. Come back in 10 years and see if they're around still, I guess. They say that they're anti-establishment populist, and they began to be absorbed by the National Conservative Party last year. And then a month later they turned around and said, we don't want to be absorbed by them. We're going to do our own thing because we're a bit different to the National Conservative groups, but they never explained how they're different. So I'm not really sure what they exactly stand for. Romania has this weird tradition of neo-legionarism. Like, Italy has this as well. It's this harking back to a militant Roman past. Yeah, that's this party. This party was founded by Ninel Payam, a former member of the Social Democratic Party, which you would expect would be left-wing, because I'll get into the Social Democrats later. They position themselves as being the nice guys, you know, social, economic equality kind of thing. And then this guy just leaves them and basically founds this romantic, far-right, ultra-nationalist, Christian-obsessed Legion Reconquest Party. It's anti-Islam, it's anti-globalization, which I get those things, but when you combine all of those things in one party, it's like you're obsessed with your ethno-nationalism, right? Like, okay, not Russian Orthodoxy, but just Christian Orthodoxy. And this party actually split from AR, Gold, the Alliance of Union of Romanians, because they were a bit too far right even for them. It split because our Gold was not anti-George Soros enough. Now, I don't agree with George Soros on a lot, but when a radical far-right party is angry about a Jewish billionaire who they think wants to control the world, it's a bit spooky, and you might want to distance yourself from this party. Who is voting for these people? The Social Liberal Humanist Party. Okay, so this party was created when conservatives and liberal reformers merged, but a few people didn't agree with them, so they went and formed their own party, which seems to happen a lot in Romania, a bunch of people then from the People's Movement, a lot of them rushed into this party, bringing it up in numbers, right? And this helped attract a certain person called Christian Piedone. This guy had ran for office in 5 different parties, changing sides 6 different times, and becoming mayor, who had his license cancelled for corruption before winning an election again, getting convicted for burning down a nightclub with people inside, and then winning an election again, as well as fraudulent deals for real estate and corruption, and then becoming a leader of this new party. I don't want to make this man angry enough to kill me, so I'm moving on. This party in English would be We Renew Romania's European Project, abbreviated to REPR. And they fell out with Save Romania Union. Save Romania Union's basically center-right, pro-Europe kind of party. Very local activism type stuff. And this party is basically the same thing, except being center-right, pro-Europe, more centrist, pro-Europe. That's it. They just had a disagreement of the leader and a bunch of guys went and formed their own group. This tends to happen a lot in Romania. Like, come on guys, get along. Right? You're all Romanians, it's okay. 10 seats in the Chamber of Deputies, so they're doing alright, and 3 in the Senate. Force for the Right, Forța Dreptă. This party is interesting because it's founded, again, by a former Prime Minister, Ludovic Orban, who was the leader of one of the 2 main parties that I'll get to later, the Liberal one, and he was basically expelled from his own party in an internal war against themselves, and he's like, well, I'll just go do my own thing, and his party's not doing too bad. Ideologically, it's kind of what it says on the box, the force of the right, though it's actually more liberal than right, economically a bit liberal, but very pro-country, which is, it's an interesting combination, which is very much like the party that he left. Just a bit more right-wing on some populist issues. This was only founded in 2021 and it's already got loads of seats. Yeah, I guess having the Prime Minister behind you gives you some weight, but that's still a feat. And as far as what they believe, liberal conservatism, so kind of like the British Tories a bit, Christian democratic, not like the British Tories who are basically atheists, pro-European Union, yet nationalist. I don't know how that works. They must be in a bloc of European nations who don't want too much centralization, kind of boogeymans from their communist days. They remember that not happening again. Right-wing populist. Their slogan, in Romanian, Prin noi înșine, through ourselves, which is also the slogan of the liberals in many cases. So they're basically taking a lot of their turf, which I find, I mean, isn't that like a copyright infringement or something? They want to join the European People's Party, which is basically like the nice, dignified center-right people in the European Parliament. So I respect that, but it does seem like this Prime Minister guy, Orbán, who speaks Hungarian, by the way, it does seem like he's just taking advantage of his position to create momentum around him with a new party to glorify his own ego. 1 Senate seat and 16 lower chamber seats. The Democratic Alliance of Hungarians in Romania. I'm not going to try and pronounce that in Hungarian. My apologies. Now, this is interesting for me for a couple reasons. I like minority languages, I like countries where there's more than one language spoken. I'm glad that Romania has an area that's mostly another language. I think it makes Romania very rich and beautiful for that. This party is pro-minority interests, pro-language rights, cultural rights, some autonomy, pro-Transylvaniaism, which is like, how do we secure the culture of Transylvania? But these guys have been really clever because they've not gone too far to the right or too centrist and too left. They've positioned themselves between the major Romanian parties because they're like, well, we're in the middle of Romania, like seriously in the middle. See my video on how Romania looks like a donut if you take these guys out. And they're like, well, we can play the big parties in Romania off each other by agreeing to form alliances with them at different times to pursue our own interests. And it's worked in a lot of ways. They've formed into coalitions with various groups, like the current ruling parties, the Social Democrats and the Liberals. They were in with them, and it helped to push their interests for a time. They tend to break up with Romanians and go do their own thing. But they're going good. They're very pro-Christian as well. Well, Christian democratic, very pro-European, kind of a federal kind of thing, like that other party I mentioned. Yeah, pro-European Union yet nationalist. That's interesting. That's kind of something you see more in Eastern Europe. They're also big on economic nationalism, which means they want local taxes, they want the rights to raise revenues, basically using the economy to protect their culture. If you're not trying to break up countries, that's a really clever way of saying, look, let us manage our own thing, just help us keep our culture alive and we'll make you rich, you know? The Alliance for the Union of Romanians, in Welsh, AIR, in Romanian, AUR. And this is a right-wing, it's kind of a union of several parties, but it's formed a party over time, right? That wants to basically annex Moldavia. Now, to be fair, there's a lot of people in Moldova who would want the two countries to join together, right? This is a form of irredentism, to expand borders to historic precedents, revisionist kind of stuff. It's conservative, it's right-wing populist, and it's Christian right-wing, but it's pro-NATO, all right? It's pro-NATO, which is usually a good sign that they're not too bonkers crazy into La La Land, right? If you're pro-NATO, okay, I'm willing to hear you out, even if you're quite far to the right. Hopefully you're not insane. However, my Jewish faith makes me wonder about them because there's been accusations of anti-Semitism. Now, I don't know anyone from this party. I have no evidence. I've just read stuff, internet articles, so I don't know. Do any of you know, are these people anti-Semitic? What do you think about these people? And they're called ultra-nationalists, so that kind of makes me be like, whoa, there's a lot of people voting for them, and they could be potentially militant-type nationalist folk. I'm a bit worried when I come across militantly Christian groups. Moving on to the next part. Save Romania Union, I mentioned this earlier, remember? So this began as a local party, Save Bucharest Union, fighting against corruption to save older buildings. And remember that guy that I mentioned, Piedone, yeah, that's part of this whole thing in Romania where there's corrupt parties and people forming new parties to fight back against them, and it's kind of like, it sounds very mafioso, right? Like, I hope you're not killing each other like mafias. Please don't. Though they burn down nightclubs, you know, just saying. This party seems alright. Like, they're pro-European liberalism, social liberalism, economic liberalism. They've got some progressivism, which I'm not sure about. Wants Moldova in the European Union with Romania. They've got 20 Senate seats, 2 European Union seats, and 40 in the lower chamber. So that's quite a big bulk of people. In a very short space of time, they're only 8 years old. Their big drive is like anti-corruption. They're the ones that came up with that slogan, like a Romania without theft. So there's clearly a lot of people who are not having this corruption, and they want some serious change to happen in Romania. But aside from the anti-corruption and being like tolerant and liberal, it's not clear what this Save Romania Union actually wants. Once you save Romania, what's your plan? (1875) is a long time ago. The National Liberal Party claims descent from that Liberal Party and is basically the establishment party of pro-business in Romania. I like this so far. And the communists basically banned them from existence in 1947 and again in 1950, and then all the way to 1990. They were illegal and banished by the regime. But they came back, and they've been one of the two main establishment parties since then. Basically the standard centre-right party in Romania, though they're a bit different to the centre-right parties we have here in Britain or France or Ireland. So, let me just run through that now. So, they are liberal conservatism and conservative liberalism. Now, those are two different things. Liberal conservatism and conservative liberalism are not the same thing. How can I explain this? Liberal conservatism is like, it's kind of like classically liberal. Economics, business, that kind of thing. Conservative liberalism, however, is suggesting there's a willingness to use the state in some instances that the 1980s economic types would not be here in the West, okay? Christian democracy. So, as you can see from the other parties, Christianity is very important in Romania for a political party to say that they are connected to. And then they have economic patriotism and social conservatism, which is like, whoa, that's nothing like the British Conservatives or the French Les Républicains or the Canadian Tories, anything like that. They're very much like, we're going to use economics to protect our state, not like we had a banker running the United Kingdom only a few months ago here. That's very different, because he was very much like globalization, and these guys are very much like, you know, let's keep our economy local and use that within a European-wide context, though. The biggest party in Romania at a local level is this Liberal Party by far. Very active in local business, entrepreneurs, merchants, that kind of thing. Deeply rooted into the local community. So I respect that. That's sounding a bit like the Liberal Democrats in the UK, who are not the biggest party, but they're very entrenched locally. However, this party was rocked to the grounds by corruption, chitsu, and investment banking, and yeah, Romania is corrupt. Sorry. I mean the politicians. Okay? Please don't murder me for saying it. This party is currently running Romania in an alliance with the Liberals. And I'll have a bit to say after this, but about that alliance. However, they are the establishment party in terms of this is what grew out of the decaying communist regime as it became a democracy, right? So, founded in the wake of the Romanian Revolution, the revolution was late 1989. By 1990, Ion Iliescu, a member of the Communist Party who Ceausescu did not like, he kind of helped lead this revolution to get rid of Ceausescu and then founded this party. So he couldn't take power in the Communist Party, so he helped get rid of the Communist Party. If the current regime doesn't work, overthrow it and start a new one. Since the early 1990s, the Social Democratic Party, along with the National Liberal Party, have basically dominated Romanian politics completely. And the Social Democratic Party has some tricks up its sleeve that you wouldn't expect coming from the West. Yes, it's center-left toward left-wing. Yes. It's got that socialist inheritance in there. Social Democratic is basically a managerial way of saying tilting towards socialism, right? And left-wing populism, which is kind of a communist inheritance. However, this is unexpected, or at least for me it was. Social conservatism and deeply connected to the Orthodox Church or the religious left of the Orthodoxy. Christianity does have a left-wing religious tradition, as we had here in Wales for a long time. And this says a lot about Romania, I think. That the economically more left-wing party is socially conservative. I find that a relief, actually. However, they're not escaping corruption. No one in Romania escapes corruption forever. Look at this. Corruption scandal rocks Romania's Social Democratic Party. So a county council president, Buzatu, and his wife were expelled from the party because Buzatu was intercepted receiving a bag containing 250,000 euros from a businessman on Friday evening. Naughty boy. And this guy was one of the most rich and powerful people in one of Romania's most impoverished counties. You can see why people are getting upset about corruption. This is supposed to be the party that came out of the revolution to give democracy to the people. So what does this say about Romania, and which one would I vote for? Well, I think it says that people in Romania have had enough of corruption. Off the hook. Get a grip. Stop cheating and depriving your own people. What they give you is not for you. Yeah, I don't like cheating. It also says that because these two parties, the Partidul Liberal, the Liberal Party, and the Social Democratic Party, these two have formed an alliance to try and prevent all these little other pecker parties from breaking apart what is the establishment now. And these formerly were the parties that were fighting against each other, like alternating in power, and they've lost so much power that they're having to group together to prevent these insurgent parties all around them from knocking one of them out as the main opposition party. Just judging from this, it's going to go through a period of instability in the future, I think, because those two parties are not going to be able to hang on with the amount of new parties just erupting up and coming very close to knocking one of them out, like Save Romania Union or the right-wing one, Alliance for the Union of Romanians. So I think that indicates there's an underlying sentiment of anger within Romanian society at their political class, accentuated perhaps by the fact that they do have a closed list system. So you don't get to vote for an individual, you're just voting for a party. So you can become more disaffected with that party sooner. I don't know, maybe Romanians will let me know what they think. It also indicates to me that the family and the church are much, much more important in Romania than they are here, which I think is something that we in the West are deeply lacking, that we don't understand the value of something that is so important to life. But Romania clearly has those values. Frankly, we're going to pay for, but Romania is not, because they've not forgotten the value of these things. Anything else? Yeah, that the main left-wing party is socially conservative. Wow. That just blows my mind. A lot of liberal conservatism kind of thing going on. And I think this is a reaction to communism, which I think that's right up my boat. I like that. Anyway, which one would I vote for? Let's go through these. The Romanian National Conservative Party. I don't know, they're really new. They're like a year old. I'm gonna let a party fester for a while before I even touch them. If they survive for another decade, maybe we can have a talk. Pro-Romania. Social liberalism, center to center left. I'd be interested to have a look at them just because they have a strong name, Victor Ponta. I'd be open to talking with someone about them, but I'm also very cautious of left-wing stuff, especially in a country that used to be communist. The People's Movement Party, center-right to right-wing. I'm a bit hesitant about the Romanian-Moldovan unionism thing, but they've been around for a decade, so I think the monarchy ship might have sailed though, but I like their European federalism, which I agree with. They kind of seem like they're slowly on their way out. So let's move on. SOS Romania. They seem a bit extreme, like Russophilia, like if you're siding with Russia, like no way. Seems like there might be some anti-Semitic stuff there. Yeah, moving on. No, not voting for that one. The Right Alternative. Now this is interesting. National conservatism, social conservatism. I'm a bit concerned about the Christian right stuff. You know, I do Judaism. No, I'm not into libertarian conservatism. I think we do need a state to run things sometimes. So, moving on. The Romanian Nationhood Party. No, I'm not even... no way I'd vote for that. Social Liberal Humanist Party, like, if I don't vote for that guy, is he going to kill me? Like, are we cool? Like, can I not vote for you and not be burned alive in a nightclub? Are we cool? Cool. Rapper. This seems like they just got angry at their friends, walked out, and were like, we're gonna start our own gang. And yeah, I respect the liberalism, pro-European bit. I understand where that's coming from, but we'll see if they're still their own party in like 10 years, or whether they've gone back to their friends and made up. Yeah? Force for the Right. Is this just the Ludovic Orban party? Is it like his populist me party? I don't know. It's pro-European, liberal conservatism, which I can kind of get, but it does seem like it's the Ludovic Orban show. It sounds aggressive, like he's trying to appeal to the angry. It would take a while for that to win my trust, and he's only been around since the end of 2021 in that party, so give it another decade, right? As for the Democratic Alliance of Hungarians, I don't know, because, I mean, I love languages. That's part of this channel. And I hope that the Hungarian language survives in Transylvania and flourishes and is a rich part of Romania and is included in Romanian culture and is allowed to grow further and even spoken in other parts of Romania. I would love to see that. But if I moved to Romania, I'd be a bit concerned about potential nationalism and trying to make Romania look like a donut by taking the piece out of the middle. It's interesting that they're socially conservative, and I would enjoy talking to them. And they've been around for a while, which that appeals to me as well. I might vote for them, but I'm not convinced yet. Alliance for the Union of Romanians. I have to, whenever I see something that says Christian right, I have to make sure that they're okay with my own religious beliefs around Judaism. Because that's, yeah, I'm going to pass on that for now, but maybe in the future, if someone can prove to me that there's no threat to me, right? Save Romania Union. I like these guys. I do. You know, they're writing anti-corruption, which is definitely a problem in Romania. They've got anti-clericalism, so they want to break the nepotism within the Romanian Orthodox Church connected to politics. I like that. They're pro-European, so they're probably not nutters, though I would be concerned because the European Union is centralizing too much, in my opinion, at the moment. So I would need to make sure that they are going to put Romania first and not the European Union. And they've been around for most of 10 years. Okay. Now, I like these guys. I could potentially vote for them. Now, the two big ones, the National Liberal Party, the Centre-Right Party, and the Social Democratic Party, Centre-Left. These two seem like the old 1990s mainstream media news outlets broadcasting every night at 9 p.m. And I just don't... I guess most of my life I would have voted for the National Liberal Party. But times have changed and I've grown, and that would have been my natural home, the National Liberal Party, for most of my life. And I would consider them. But I need to know that they've moved on from the past, and that they understand that you can't have these two establishment parties just ruling forever. Yeah? As for the Social Democratic Party, I'm a bit wary of a party that's potentially connected to communism. And the centre-left in general, I'm a bit suspicious about. But because they are socially conservative on many things, I am open to them. I think that's fascinating. Left on economics, a bit right on culture. I like that combination. Out of all those parties, which one would I vote for? I think I would go with Save Romania Union. Yeah, I think so. But I'm not living in Romania, so I can't. Thank you very much for watching this, and we will see you in the next video next time.
Stimați telespectatori, am transmis direct din Piața Republicii Marea Adunare Populară a Oamenilor Muncii din Capitală.